It is a company which has its strengths almost in every department of America and also departments around the world. And this is a company which has also former workmates and also alumni which have worked in this particular company, working in the World Bank, working in the banks of Canada, working in the banks of Italy, and also the European banks. It is a company which is well connected, and their former employees are very big people. So, for you having former employees which are big people, you can be able to control and also push your agenda very easily and also manipulate people easily. This is what this company does, and they have been able to make a lot of profits, and also they have been able to manipulate the markets in every century and also in every period of crisis. They are able now to gain profits, although everybody is having losses, but this particular company has positioned themselves in a certain way where no matter what happens, they will always gain profits, because this company is also having an employee which was working for them, was also working for the World Bank. So you can just imagine what type of influence this particular company has, and also what type of things which this company can do. So today's story, I'll be telling you the story of Goldman Sachs. And Goldman Sachs is a investment company which was started in the year of 1869 by a person called Marcus Goldman. So today's story is basically going to expose this company and how it operates, and some of the things which it has done so that it can be remain afloat and also have so much profits which we know today, and also have a long lasting career which we know today. And I'll also be telling you about the secrets and also some of the things which these particular companies do so that they can be able to get money from the unfortunate, and also pump it for them so that they can gain a lot of profits. There's one particular person which says, and also was a former employee of the Goldman Sachs, and he says that they basically, what they do is they take the most sophisticated product and sell it to the least sophisticated people. So when you're selling it to the least sophisticated people, the people cannot be able to understand what the product you're selling to them entails. So it is easy to sell to them, and also it is easy to lie that this product is very good and it will have profits in the end run. But unfortunately, people go into losses, and if you have sold to the least sophisticated people, then the people cannot claim back the losses, or they cannot sue you. So the company was started in the year of 1869 by a person called Goldman Sachs, and he was called Marcus Goldman, and he started this company by just issuing IPOs or issuing IOUs, and also he was one of a broker of issuing IOU. What he basically did, he used to take some bank used to take clients money, and after taking clients money which wanted to bank with him, because it initially started as a bank. So when he took this particular money which clients owed, which his clients gave it to him, then he took that money and gave it out to the other people which wanted loans in form of IOUs. This was a very profitable business. It usually generated around 5 million per year, and you can just figure this out, because this was in the year of 1869. So you can just imagine what type of money will it be today, because 100,000 in 1869, in today's money it can be around $2.7 million. So you can just imagine what type of revenue and also what type of transactions did these people operate during that period of 1869. So this was their first boost of business. Later on in the years of 1880s over there, they were able now to join the business of IPOs, where they will be able to sell a company to the public. And this was the first deal which they got in around there in 1880s over there, 1880s over there. And after getting this deal, they knew that this particular uh, business of selling IPOs and also doing IPOs is very profitable. IPOs is basically the initial profit where a company is sold to the public. This is the initial, it is the initial public offer where the public is able to buy that particular company. It's when the company is going into public. This is the money which the banks can be able to calculate, and they can be able to estimate how much a particular company will be sold per share. So this is basically the business which Goldman Sachs now decided to venture in. And after venturing in this, the first company which they sold, they saw that this particular business is very profitable, and that's when now they started now venturing into that business. And after venturing into that business, they are around in the 1920s and also 1920s to 1930s. Now they decided to do something which was a little bit fishy, and this particular thing was it, and it basically entails that a particular person is able, or Goldman Sachs is able now to have its own company, and after having its own company, it's able now to resell the shares of that particular company. And what after reselling the shares, it buys the shares again, and after buying the shares, then it sells the shares again. So after like 4 or 5 transactions, which after selling and also buying the shares again, the price hikes up, and also this introduces new value of the company, and the value of the company even becomes more expensive. Basically, what they usually did, they bought their own company at let's say $100 per share, and they bought the 100% of the shares. So after buying the company for $100 per share, they will sell the company at $104 per share. So an increase of $4 on that company. And after selling the company at 104, they will also buy the company at 108. Then they sell it at $116 per share. So this will increase their profits, and this in the long run, it will be a very profitable business. And basically what they did, they created like 2 other companies and 3 other companies, where all this company, one company buys the other, then the other company buys the other. So it was a cycle where companies will be able to buy each other, and this will increase the prices of the shares of this company. So this is one of their ways which they used to generate money during the 1920s to 1930s over there. So when it now became in the years of 1990s, remember this Goldman Sachs, all of these years, they have been also generating wealth and also increasing their power into the world, and also having more connections into different places. Later on in the years of 1990s, they were able now to have a particular secretary which was a former employee of the Goldman Sachs, which was working for them, to be working for the State House. And this was a very great profit for them, because the particular secretary stand a blind eye to some of the things which the Goldman Sachs did, and also some of the brokers which they did. So in the years of 1920s or 1980, 1990s over there, it was a year where many companies were going to public, and also it was the dot-com year, where many people were projecting that dot-com was a particular business venture, and many people were looking forward to buying companies so that they can be able to profit, because this was the leading business where anybody would want to take part in the dot-com period. So they were buying companies which were tech companies, and also any company which deals with computers. They'll just people wanted to buy it because they assume they will get even more profit. So that's when now Goldman Sachs entered into that idea and started selling companies which they were not even the regulations which were occurring during that time, they were not regulated. So they usually even sold companies which the value was not the typical value of a company. So they will even hype values of companies, and also they will sometimes undervalue values of companies, so that they themselves they can buy those shares and also sell those shares back. So basically what they basically did is they undervalued companies, well, and also hiked up companies which they knew that the profit in a long run they wouldn't have any type of profit, but they wrote it as they sold it at a higher price per share, and this later on inflicted a lot of people, because many people went into losses, because there are so many companies which fell apart, and also the initial buying price of the company now became lower because of the current market trend, which was unpredicted, and also it was predicted by some people, but the Goldman Sachs kept it as a secret. So later on, companies like Yahoo, which Goldman Sachs decided to venture in, and also to support those type of businesses like the Yahoo, and also other tech companies, which also eventually, after a long period of time, eventually failed. So Goldman Sachs, during these years, during that time, the state house and also the other people which were connected with them turned a blind eye for what was happening during those markets. And like the 1930s, where the New York exchange market was very regulated, and nobody could try to sell any type of company at a higher price rate. So during these years, because there was an employee which was working for Goldman Sachs, this was all done by him. And later on in the years after this business, now they came into a new era during the 2000 and also 2008, 2007 there. Luckily, they got a particular person which was also a former employee of Goldman Sachs into, he was the treasury of the United States. And this particular person now invented new laws and also helped Goldman Sachs in certain type of ways, where in the 2007 over there was a new era where people will buy mortgages house, and the banks will now be able to offer people to mortgage their houses for them. So during this period of years, many people ran into the business of real estate businesses, and many people were buying houses. Leave alone in the 1930s, where a person could require an initial deposit for you to have a particular house. But later on in the 2000 over there, the initial deposit of the particular house was scrapped away, and people could buy houses even without even putting a deposit. So the market was very flooded, and the only person which was ensuring this, it was a particular company which Goldman Sachs gave this opportunity and also deal to insure them against this particular type of dealings. In any case, if this particular thing fails, then Goldman Sachs in the end run, they will be the winners, because during that time what they did, they sold these particular houses to people and also leased them as mortgages. And also, if any one of them defaults to pay this particular money as a mortgage, the other company, now the insurer, will be able to pay back that particular money as because it was insured by them. Because during that time, the banks had taken anybody could have money, and also anybody could have a house without even having a deposit. So it was very risky. So it needed an insurance company, and the insurance company which was put about was the IAG insurance company. And you remember it, which was sponsoring Manchester United, AIG company. And this company was also during the 2007 to 2008 over there was a market crash which happened. And during that time, there was an employee of Goldman Sachs into the treasury, and this particular employee now controlled where money goes and some of the companies which won't be given money. And one of the companies which were denied money was the Lehman Brothers. And also the Lehman Brothers they were the closest competition to Goldman Sachs. So that particular person decided to deny the Lehman Brothers money, and after denying them and making sure that the Lehman Brothers are not there anymore, he decided now to put and also pump that money to another company, which was the AIG, which was the insurer for the Goldman Sachs. So all the money which was lost during that market crash by Goldman Sachs, that money was pumped into the AIG, and the AIG was able now to pay back Goldman Sachs in form of insurance, and also it was in form of the insurance which the Goldman Sachs had lost during that period, where there was a market crash during the 2008 over there in America. So this particular market crash, now the AIG now had to insure and also give back the money to Goldman Sachs, and this was done by Goldman Sachs, because they knew that AIG had owned them their money. They decided now to tell the tell the treasurer of the United States to pump money into the AIG. So that's the first thing which they were able now to get away with. So later on in the years, they decided to put themselves into other businesses like the crude oil, where they were able now to hype the market and tell the market that crude oil in later years it will be able to rise up on the stock exchange, and the amount of crude oil and also the price of crude oil will always becoming even more and more. And this was a false thing which they were saying. And later on, this was evident where many people were able to buy crude oil at a higher rate, and even to the extent where the amount of crude oil which was bought wasn't in the market. So people were buying imaginary crude oil. So later on, after Goldman Sachs hyping this particular crude oil, they were able now to get out of that business when they saw that the price of crude oil had gone down. And all this time they had been telling people there's no point where the crude oil value and also money will decrease, it will always go up. So the people which were left at the end of the day going into losses were people, because Goldman Sachs decided to get out of this deal at the end of the before the everything went downside for them. And not only Goldman Sachs, because they had also partnered up with other companies which they did this, and also they were the initial plan of this particular thing which they had planned, because they saw that oil was gold for them, and also oil was something which was valuable, and also it was gold money. It was black gold for them. So that's the story of Goldman Sachs and how it operates. And also, even right now, it is operating into other businesses, where it is able to manipulate the market and lie to other people that these particular commodities are high. And that's how people and also these big companies are able to convince people. And later on in the years, Goldman Sachs was able to name its company into a invest in a bank holding company, investment holding company, where this particular Goldman Sachs won't be a bank investment, but it will be a holding company where it can be able to uh, own other banks. And also after owning other banks, they can be able to manipulate these banks, but they themselves, they are deemed not to be operating into this particular business, but obviously they control these banks. But this is one profitable thing for them, because they were able now to change their company into one single bank. Now they are able to own other banks. So that's the story of Goldman Sachs, and I hope you like this story. And if you liked it, please subscribe to this channel, and till I see you next time, thank you so much.